Hello there, welcome to another episode of World of Tanks and Gamey Titan. We're once again on my least favourite map, Icebound. We're in team destruction mode, which is often can be somewhat different. And we're in the Motherland, which is not the worst tank to be on Icebound in, because the Motherland is a tough little tank, as this game proves. Now, normally in my experience in Icebound, there's a kind of gravitational field that draws teams into the northeastern quadrant of the map, essentially somewhere north of the 4 line, or east of the 4 line, north of the G line. So frequently if you go around the southern and eastern edge of the map, you can pick up lone and isolated tanks, and it can be quite profitable as long as you're not completely isolated and alone yourself. On this occasion I have a Chaffee with me, and I have a couple of other tanks following up behind. There's actually an unusually large number of tanks come along the southern side, although not many of them go up along the eastern side afterwards. But it's more support than you'd often get, so you want to be careful actually too how not to outrun your support, because one of the things of course is that inevitably on Icebound there will be an engagement in the centre of the map around that big plaza, square, whatever. There'll be an engagement around there, and if you happen to be out past your support, should we say, somebody from the centre might decide to come down one of the avenues and start shooting you from behind. So it's something to keep an eye on. However, we've now discovered a whole bunch of tanks. Now I push out a little too far, and I don't make the best use of the terrain here that I could have made. I allow myself to take damage later on that was completely unnecessary, but I've spotted a few tanks, and I have the opportunity to use the houses here to cover myself from the other tanks, or from a lot of the other tanks. So I'm able to put around into the VK3001D here, because I'm covered at the moment from the other tanks. Now I'm kind of worried about the guys on the hill. I don't want to be exposed to the guys to the north of me, and also exposed to the guys on the hill at the same time. That VK3000 has come out and we've tracked him. Fortunately for him, I don't have any follow-up or backup tanks to really punish him there for being tracked. Now, I get spotted here by the 3601H, and I only tracked him, and I back up a little too far. I think I'd have been better off holding my position and just using the buildings to engage the 301H. So I took a couple of hits there from the Love and probably the 3001 that was with him, and but I back up now. I have the city block, I think, between myself and those tanks. And that VK3000, 3600 and 1H, he keeps coming up the same spot. He's, don't know why it didn't work for him to start, but he just he keeps doing it. So I've been able to take advantage of that and put a few hits into him, and I'm going to pull up again now because he is no longer spottable. So we've spotted him again, and he can't see me now with the bushes between us. And he's just sitting there, so we put another round into him. At this point he decides to come off the hill going forward, and we just finish him off. So now my left is probably secure. There's a heavy tank there at the corner. The Indian Panzer is backing up. Put a round into him, and I think he thinks about it. But he either gets the track repaired, or he used a repair kit there, so he has backed up. Now I head to the corner because I want to see if I can get onto that Indian Panzer. There's a heavy tank on my right, a VK4502A, and he's engaging against a couple of our tanks. So I reckon he's not going to be a problem for the moment. That my chief concern is going to be likely the Indian Panzer, maybe the Love. I do see that I get a chance here at a side shot on the VK45, so I might as well take it. will he wait for a second one? No, he moves in past the city block, so I don't get a clear shot. Now I don't want to drive out in front of that hill, because it was positioned just north of this hill was the last known location of the Indian Panzer. And I'm also kind of worried about where the Lova exactly is. So I come up here to see what's to be seen. And there's no sign of that Indian Panzer. The Lova is there ahead of me. He's still in the corner where he was since the beginning, since we first made contact. And he hasn't moved, but I don't have a clear shot at him, and he hasn't spotted me. Sixth sense hasn't gone off. So I'm not familiar with this side of the map, and I didn't realise that both of these routes led into the same location. I thought this actually led to a slightly different location and there was more cover. But I would have finished up in the same place anyway even if I'd gone over the hill where I was. So we've come up, there's still no sign of that Indian Panzer. So I just decided, right, I'm going to go after the VK4502. And as I'm crossing the open ground, I spot the Indian Panzer. Now I snap a shot off in his direction and he backs off, which is very fortunate because he could have done me quite a bit of harm as I was crossing the open ground there. But now that I'm into the streets, I'm in the clear. And this guy's got people in front of him, so his attention is not on me at the moment. He's following the remaining Allied heavy tank that was facing him down. So that's enabled me to put a couple of rounds into him, and he's still focusing on the KV-5. So we finish him off. Now the remaining known enemy tanks are actually the other side of town, and there's an Allies in that direction as well. So I decided I'm going to go and help the Allies. I know there's an Indian Panzer on my right, or my left, sorry. There's an Indian Panzer somewhere to my left, but I have no idea where, and I could spend quite a while searching him to have the tanks across the town wipe out the Allied tanks. So it's kind of imperative that I get to them as quickly as possible to kind of keep them in the game if I can. There's a VK... Well, here's the Lova. We managed to put a shot into him as he's making his escape around the corner. And that's the first hit he's taken all day, but it's probably the first time he's been really close to the action. We have the VK101P. They've been kind of the bane of my life since they've come into the match. I'm not too sure where the weak spots are, if they have any at all, really. We found the Indian Panzer, and as I'm going around him, he forgets about the fact that I have a friend in the form of the KV-5, the Grunewich. So he gets taken out. So I'm now going to follow the KV-5 towards the last known enemy locations. It's better if we stick together at this stage of the game. There's 3 versus 2 left, but any mistake could change that pretty quickly because some of our tanks could be on fairly low hit points. So as we come around this corner here, what have we got? There's a tank below there engaged with the enemy tank, and we have the Lova here in front of me. Now I thought this was pretty straightforward. The two of us go in on the Lova, we finish him off and get it over with. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm just chasing the Lova down the street. I was expecting the KV-5 to follow me and nothing elaborate to happen. However, the KV-5 decides to pull out a flanking maneuver. Now, KV-5s can get up to a decent amount of speed, but they're not fast. And they don't have fast acceleration, and while he's going around the corner, I take a lot of punishment because I thought I'd be able to get past him there. I really need to be on the sides or back of the Lova to get a decent chance of hitting or penetrating. I can penetrate the lower front plate alright, but he managed to track me there before I got past him. So I'm now the one on the back foot. The pace of the fight's been dictated by the Lova, and that's very much to his advantage. He set me on fire there, and I've lost about half my remaining hit points. So, and I've no clean shot at his lower front plate. He's using the other tank as a very effective extra additional armour. And he's still there now facing the KV-5. So unless the KV-5 forces him to give up the position, the KV-5 is at a massive disadvantage as well. But fortunately for the KV-5, he gets past the Lova and is onto the flank. So he manages to finish off the Lova before the Lova gets himself straightened up and facing the KV-5 again. But that just means it's the KV-5 and the tank destroyer versus the VK-101P. KV-5 was quite fortunate to penetrate with that shot. I've been firing into these things with both premium and non-premium rounds, even from the side, and having very little success. That side armour is quite strong. The lower side armour is actually not worth even going for, even though it's not as strong as the upper armour. There's a second belt of spaced armour at the other side of the tracks, on the inside of the tank. So you take out that, you have to take out the tracks, and you have to take out the second belt of spaced armour behind that, or to penetrate into the main body of the tank. And penetrating with the front is, in my experience, really, really difficult. Fortunately for the KV-5, the tank destroyer has managed to get the rear of the VK, and he's putting effective fire into him, so the VK decides to back up. Now, the KV-5 is probably a one-shot to the VK, and he'd been better off not closing the distance in the first place, because by closing the distance, his own gun wasn't pointing at the weaker spots of the VK. Although, it is my experience that if those things have premium ammunition, they can actually punch through the front of the turret of a KV-5. However, the final score is in. We finish up with over 4,000 damage, first class mastery, and we get a high caliber, and we come first by experience. So, and we blocked more damage than we actually received. So, all in all, I'm quite happy with my performance, or reasonably happy. I mean, yeah, I made some mistakes, and I could have done a bit better. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please consider giving it a like if you enjoyed it, and the channel subscription if you want to see more videos. And thank you all, and I'll catch you again soon.